It's September 17th, 2022. Lewis insisted that I walk with him to the park today by the lake. I felt healthy enough to attempt that distance. Um, and but then all of a sudden the guy in the front room, or the guy, whatever, T-Frio 1975, needed something. He popped a tire on my car, and had to have it replaced, so he needed a ride somewhere, and then he needed a ride somewhere else. So I took the back seat. They were in the front seat, and Lewis took him. So the day began in this section, um, going to a building on the Zucker campus. Um, and it said Littner. When I looked up Littner, there was a Lucas Littner, and he was an American politician in like the 1800s, early 1900s. I did not know. But that's the brick building on that Zucker campus. Um, was named after this American politician. I looked it up while I was sitting in the car for wherever Tia Frio had to go. Now, what's interesting in observations is Lewis pulled into a parking space and it said arse parking only. And Lewis is like, what's an arse? And I'm like, I don't know. What is an arse? So then I had to look up what an arse was. I thought, like, it kind of made me giggle because I think that I've heard somebody say that in like a, like not in a dry humor way, somewhere in like a, no, it's a real thing. I didn't know it was a real thing. Again, in like the big wide world of things, I'm sure that somewhere in like dry humor and the serious places in life, it's not a funny thing, but it was quite comical. But I was being serious. So he parked in the arse parking spot. So he was properly labeled in this Nissan Kicks. And we're sitting there, I in the back seat, he in the front driver's seat on the same side. And Tiafrio gets out with his box of whatever he does in this Littner brick building. And as we're sitting outside, I notice like Tiafrio still moves like if he doesn't open his mouth and you don't ask him anything that might be insulting to your intelligence, just watching him walk, he's still able to do that. However, some of these people going into this building were not as lucky, in serious concerns about toxins, biotoxins that are additives in a more serious topic for whatever. For I don't even know where as a witness to these things where this is important, but he walked in. Then there was a gentleman or a man that pulled up next to us. Lewis made a comment about the smoking, and I said, Lewis, I said, we are not the judge. I was like, if that's what he does, whatever. So the man gets out, and on his arm he has the English word for outlaw. In tedesco es Auslander, but it's outlaw. Outlaw. And I'm like, wow, that is a statement. And then, of course, he had personalized ink, to further that pageantry. And he also, like Tifa 1975, was able to walk in a, neurologically, it looks as though their motor function is still intact, in their CNS and their auxiliary extremities. There was another gentleman who was not as fortunate, as he exited the building He swayed his arms back and forth. Now, I've been hit with, I don't know what. I don't know if it's a virus. I don't know, temporary. I don't know if it had to do with the anemia. Again, I can't quite seem to get my bearings on how I've been affected with something else, whether it be the water or food or whatever, or as I sleep, or as I walk around. I'm not sure, but the there are times where I know, like, I lean into the motion of walking when it was hard to breathe, but it turned out I had a ferrous deficiency and a volume of um, hematological necessity. So that happened. So I saw this one man neurologically altered with the way that he moved. So that was, I stayed quiet in a seriousness of just observations of what is also being treated or is entering and exiting this building while we're in the arse parking space with the Rhode Island license plate. And then um, and then there was another person who came out who was almost shuffling. He was having trouble with his motor skills as well, but gross motor skills, more in a kinesthetic and proprioception type of a way, but not enough that he'd lost his balance. He just seemed to have short pace shuffle in his gait. Um, and then there was another person who came out, different genetic category. The first were in a genetic category of Tiafrio 1975, um, somewhere within that category of Cain, I being of Adam and having a responsibility with children of Cain as well. So I then looked at um, this other uh, bloodline that did not look like the rest of them as he walked out, and his shoulders were hunched forward, and he like walked really close to the car and like looked in the car at like what we were in the parking space. And I'm like, and he did not look neurologically altered by motor function whatsoever. He looked like more like he was walking across a prison yard in like a stance of like, I don't want to be messed with, which I get. Um, Again, it's almost like for people who do National Geographic photography of their specialty in wild animals, you just start to read body motion in people give off signals at times, but the Littner, that American politician building on this Zucker campus that's part of Northwell Health. I've never been for this reason. He's gone several times, disappeared with the car and this box, which is how I know. I see the pattern. But again, seeing how some of the affected, and knowing they're having a sympathetic eye, knowing some of the tragedies of what Teofrio went through as he enters this building and what some of these people might have gone through in different stages of traumatic events or whatever their vice is, and vice and virtue. I did notice some neurological motor function deficiencies on some of them, some of the exiting from the building, same building that Teofrio went in. I know why he went in. Then we left, and um, we went to the tire replacement It's called Albindale. Um, no, Auburndale. Burn, and then Dale, and AU, meaning gold. So it's the Goldburn Dale of whatever, and it was tire replacement and whatever. And I'm looking at Tiafreo at the counter from inside the car, and he's wearing a shirt that says water heater. Um, and I'm just like, I mean, I can't make this stuff up, how this is all relatable. So we bring him back, we drop him off. Now it's my time to have my father and this walk around the lake, which we go on foot. And we come upon the Parks Department today, New York City Parks Department, in our walking path. Has by the estuary, they have canoe rides, which there's never canoes allowed in New York City on the lake that we're near, like Oak, whatever. But there is today. They were giving out New York Yankee hats for participation, which they gave one to my son. But there was a man that came up and said, "Not Yankees, Mets, Mets, Mets." And I was just like, again, I saw the sign in, I don't know what it means, but we're Queens, so we are Mets technically for local baseball teams. Used to be Shea, now it's City Field. Don't know what all these changes are about, but Yankees, which is a Bronx based whatever, was giving out hats or caps. So my son thanked them for that. There was also educational tables, which we went around. Um, we got to meet some of the clubs, which again, they were estuary based clubs. So there were the bird watchers. There was something called an angler. I didn't even know what the word was. I'd never heard it before. Then there was someone from the US EPA. And lo and behold, there was a senator there. New York State senator. Never even heard of this woman. Not ever. Not going through. Now it turns out Toby Ann Stavisky, senator of the 16th district, vice chairwoman, majority conference. She's the Committee on Higher Education chairwoman. In Flushing. Now, she said something, again, I entered private and public school in this Bayside area while, I don't know when she came about, but she said every 10 years, like she's outgoing senator for the district, and the incoming is now this person who no longer represents my son or my heritage. And they said it had something to do with Gary Mandarin. Gary, is that like a Luke's Gary? I mean, so she said, she told me a story on it, but I'm like, it says Mandarin. That's, these are some signs of some serious stuff going on in the local whatever. So there was all different sorts of people there. Now, we didn't hear about this event through the school. The local public school did not put it on a calendar. It was not voiced. I did PTA the other night, was not brought up that this week in the community there'll be participation like for DOE and the Parks Department, sanitation. There's no real crossover. I don't know why. I don't know if it has to do with this gerrymandering problem. But she said she's the outgoing and there's going to be somebody incoming in January. I'm like, what? Like, and then I said to her, I said, can I ask you a question? Because most of the people that attended today were my dad's age. And they were involved in the clubs. And we came home, we came home to grab my son. So now we have the 3 generations with us. And I got him dressed, and he put on an orange shirt and he put on blue jeans. So he was Mets color coordinated, even though they gave him a Yankee hat, and he matches my twinning sunglasses. Um, and so, and I should mention, I was walking on the street the other day in Bell Boulevard, and there was a woman that is not of my bloodline who was wearing a red pair of these with the emboss or the label Toyota on the side of them. I thought that was interesting. I'm like, now where did she get those? So anyhow, so we take Nuchie back. So now I have 3 generations there. We're surrounded by my dad's age club members of environmental protection. The estuary, the EPA is there, sanitation is there, anglers are there. There was no Boy Scouts there for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know how that works. New York Parks Department. There was also 2 NYPD white shirts, looked very decorated, and a third professional that were around. And so I found that very interesting. So Anthony was, my son, 2012, was able to walk around and learn. There was a quail. He always wants to touch the birds. I don't know why. And normally I'm like, pigeons, they fly away. I was like, they don't want to be touched or whatever. So, but they had a quail, and he went straight up to this quail. He was following it around. So, like a quail angler for some reason, I don't know. And then they went to go catch monarch butterflies in the fields. He tried that, but they didn't see any butterflies whatsoever. So now back to this woman. I went to school here in public school, what they call Catholic school. I went to a Lutheran school at one point. I've gone to Sunday school at the King's Church of the Episcopalians. I've gone to Astor's Vincent Blended Catholic Church on a Crescent Street. Some Cardinal Dolan would have to explain what the difference is. I'm not quite sure, but it's quite frightening because I know he showed up at St. Dominic's, which looked very Pope appropriate in not what the institution I went into and then got hurt in, although I got hurt in St. Dominic's off campus, but whatever, in the city limits of something happened. I just can't put my finger on what. It was one of those things where I woke up and I'm like, I did not meet you after school. How are you driving my car? So I don't know what went on with that. But she's there, and now she's telling me, because she looks, I mean, like, again, by this, she's not an expressed with like the eyes and things, but she is expressed enough in something close to what my son is. And she said to us, 75% of her district, whatever that means, are new. Why is 75% new residents in this area? Where did 75% of the old residents go? And why is it changing hands? How is that going to affect myself, my father, my son? How is that going to affect our future? Why aren't we taught about it? Why in all of these divisions of school in downstate New York have I never heard of senators, how to become one? Lou tells me today there's a district senator, then there's a state senator. I'm like, how do you learn these things, Lewis? He's like, well, they're supposed to be in school. I was like, but it wasn't. And I went to a lot of different schools, and it wasn't being spoken of in any of them. There was something on my schedule that said American history, but it was paintings of, and it's not something that was reinforced with, I have no idea what President Roosevelt did. Like, there was no historical carry forward. There was no, I mean, like, why was all of this taken from my ability and my age range? So many questions, and like, nobody, I don't know who to direct them to. And now this woman, Toby Ann, or Senator Stavisky, is outgoing. Like, she's only going to be with us until January, and I don't even know what to ask her. And she says she doesn't know the area. She doesn't know she doesn't know much. She will actively say that she doesn't come, she lives close, but it's not and 75% of her district is new in residence. How do you do senator work then? And where did all the people go? There was no answers by asking. So again, how does one protect oneself? I mean, there were clubs there. We're not talking motorcycle clubs. We're not, and again, I don't know if they have like secret lives that I don't know about, but I met the anglers. I met the bird folks that take pictures of birds, like more gentle clubs, I would say. And just giving me ideas and words that I didn't have previous to this encounter. But it's frightening. I mean, and then when we went back, she wasn't there. I wanted to take a picture with my son, but she wasn't there, so we didn't take a picture. But I have a picture of him with the quail, which I'll put up on the on my Facebook. Anthony's there holding Quail in his hands, and he just loves this bird. I don't know why. I've never seen a quail before. They are one of the cutest birds as it runs across the field. He went under a table. He went under there to try to get it. So it was interesting because I've never even seen a quail before, not in live, real person. It was an interesting find. And then turtles. We went to Vanderbilt Planetarium, and Anthony walked into the room of shadow boxes that had all the exotic butterflies and things from on the Vanderbilt estate, of his travels and him bringing them back and filling out the cards and with the pins, and how organized and structured the hobby was in its uniqueness. And my sense of that he wanted to emulate that. He wanted to create his own project like that, which just gave me the hook to say, let's go. I don't know, but there are ancestors in the area that studied this. They got a higher education. They're the ones who will bestow on you the knowledge that you need if that's something you want to pursue. So even though I don't have that wisdom, let's get out there and meet them, and see if they can direct us a little bit into cultivating some form of interest. So that's what we did today. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.